If your brain feels noisy, scattered, or dull, it's not your fault. You're not broken. You're just not tuned to the right frequency. Modern science, ancient mysticism, and Tesla's hidden obsessions all point to the same truth. Genius isn't about talent. It's about vibration. And right now, your mind is surrounded by signals that are keeping you ordinary. We were never taught how to think. We were trained to obey. You spend your days trapped in beta brainwaves, overanalyzing, doubting, comparing. But what if you could unlock a mental state that artists, inventors, and visionaries stumbled into? A state that amplifies your insight, clarity, and confidence in just minutes a day. It's real, it's measurable, and it's been buried under distraction for decades. This is not another productivity hack. This is a neurological key to genius. Tesla hinted at it. Silva trained it. Today, neuroscience confirms it. You can tune your brain to the genius frequency. And once you do, there's no going back. There's something strange about silence. When the noise fades, when the distractions die down, another layer of reality begins to reveal itself. Nikola Tesla didn't just notice this, he lived inside it. While others fought to do more, Tesla listened. Not to the world outside, but to the energy pulsing behind everything. He believed the brain wasn't just an organ, it was a receiver, a transmitter of unseen frequencies. To Tesla, thoughts were electric, ideas were signals, and genius was not random, it was accessed. Tuned. He once said, "If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." That wasn't poetry. It was instruction. Tesla operated in what we now call the genius frequency, a state where the noise of the world fades and the signal of creation gets louder. He wasn't working harder, he was thinking differently, smoother, sharper. His ideas came fully formed, not brainstormed, not forced, received, as if he tuned his brain to a frequency no one else knew existed. And maybe he did, because what he tapped into, this hidden layer of thought, matches what neuroscience is just beginning to understand. That the brain emits frequencies, that we live in waves, alpha, theta, gamma, and each one holds a different level of creativity, insight, and awareness. Tesla accessed that before the science even had words for it. He was a mental pioneer, not just in what he built, but in how he thought. His legacy isn't just about coils and currents. It's about mental programming, about using brainwave training and creative visualization before those terms ever existed. Tesla's real discovery? That genius isn't created, it's uncovered, tuned, awakened. And if that's true, then what does it mean for your mind? Could it be that your greatest ideas are already floating in the air, waiting for you to catch the signal? Could the key to unlocking your true intelligence lie not in thinking harder, but in learning how to tune in? That brings us to a question science is finally ready to ask. Let's get something straight. Your brain is not just a thinking machine, it's a rhythm machine. At every moment, it's humming at a certain frequency. And these frequencies, they change everything. When you're anxious or overthinking, you're stuck in high beta, the mental static of modern life. But creativity, insight, they come from slower, deeper waves. This is where alpha, theta, and gamma enter the stage. Alpha state is that smooth, alert calm, like the moment right before sleep or after a deep breath. It's where creative visualization becomes effortless. Theta goes deeper. It's the dream space, the subconscious door. And gamma, that's lightning. Bursts of insight, pure cognition, the stuff genius is made of. What people call flow or inspiration is actually the frequency of genius. Not magic, not luck, just brainwaves in harmony. Alpha lets you relax. Theta unlocks your subconscious power. Gamma lights the spark. When these waves align, your mind enters a heightened dimension. You stop thinking like everyone else and start seeing what they can't. That's why brainwave training is no longer a fringe idea. Olympic athletes use it. CEOs meditate in alpha before major decisions. Artists ride theta waves to access symbols and meaning they can't explain. Your brain isn't stuck, it's just mistuned. And when you adjust the dial, something shifts. Suddenly clarity, vision, access. That's mind tuning techniques in action. Here's something practical. Try entering alpha state before any creative task. Sit still. Breathe in for 4 seconds, out for 8. Visualize a white light flowing through you. You'll feel the mental noise drop. That's the signal beginning. Over time, these rituals shape your internal rhythm. You're not escaping the world. You're syncing with a different level of it. And when your mind begins to hum at the right frequency, doors open. Ideas feel magnetic. Time slows. Distractions fade. But there's a reason most people never reach this level. Because they're carrying a filter, an internal block that keeps them locked in beta. A program running silently in the background. And that's where we go next. The mind, like any muscle, responds to training. But not the way most people think. Jose Silva understood something crucial. The brain isn't just for logic, it's a receiver, a projector, a tuner. His method wasn't about motivation or hustle. It was about mental programming, entering the alpha state, and reconfiguring thought. A strategy for tapping into subconscious power on command. The Silva Method teaches people to drop into alpha levels at will. Why? Because that's the brain's most suggestible state. It's where creative visualization actually rewires neural circuits. You don't just imagine success, you install it. Athletes use it. Entrepreneurs rely on it. It's not a new age fantasy. It's consciousness science that works if you do the work. Picture this. You close your eyes, count backwards from 100, slow your breath. You visualize a goal, not just the image, but the feeling. Your brain begins to shift frequencies, syncing with a more coherent state. That's when your subconscious listens. That's when belief turns into blueprint. That's what unlock your mind really means. This is brain training, but not the kind with apps and games. It's deeper. Think of it like tuning an instrument. Too tight, it breaks. Too loose, it buzzes. But when it's tuned, it sings. That's what mind-tuning techniques aim for: precision, clarity, harmony. The frequency of genius isn't chaotic, it's consistent, calm, and targeted. You become, quite literally, a mental athlete. You learn to quiet noise and enter that space where focus becomes flow, where inner doubt gets replaced with inner code. It's not about forcing thoughts, it's about designing them and letting the subconscious do the rest. You become the architect, not just the thinker. But here's the twist. This method only works if your neural pathways are flexible, if your brain knows how to change. And that takes us into the next layer, the real magic behind thought itself, the bridge between intention and transformation, and the science that proves it. The brain is not a stone. It's clay, wet, shifting, alive. Most people walk through life believing their mental patterns are permanent, as if intelligence is a fixed trait carved in childhood. But science says otherwise. Through the lens of neuroplasticity, we now know thoughts don't just pass through the mind, they build it. They etch roads. They construct reality. And here's the twist. Those neural roads don't form randomly. They form based on repetition, emotion, and frequency. Your dominant thoughts create dominant circuits. That's why brainwave training isn't just a hack, it's the foundation. You're not just thinking differently, you're tuning the signal. The Tesla brain theory wasn't poetic, it was prophetic. Each time you think a thought, especially in the alpha state, you strengthen its pathway. Think scarcity? That becomes your operating system. Think vision? That becomes your compass. Over time, your brain aligns with what you feed it. That's how you unlock your mind. Not by trying harder, but by tuning smarter. Let's break it down. Imagine two people. One wakes up and meditates, visualizing abundance in a focused, elevated emotional state. The other wakes up scrolling, absorbing chaos, whose brain reshapes toward clarity, whose tunes into the frequency of genius. Neuroplasticity doesn't care about intention, it follows attention. This is where consciousness science meets practice. Want to change your life? Start by changing your mental resonance. Journal daily in alpha. Combine creative visualization with emotion. Surround yourself with content that aligns with who you want to become. This is no longer mystical advice, it's neurological strategy. But even with a brain that adapts, there's still one thing that gets in the way. Something old, something silent, a filter that twists our genius before it even reaches us. And it's hidden right beneath awareness, the subconscious. Most people don't fail because they're not smart. They fail because their subconscious power is working against them. You might be tuning into the genius frequency on the surface, meditating, visualizing, learning, but under that, there's static, old programming, childhood beliefs, emotional scars wrapped as logic, and those are the real gatekeepers of your intelligence. The subconscious mind is like a filter that decides what's safe for you to believe. Imagine trying to upload a new operating system, but the firewall keeps blocking it. That's what happens when you try to unlock genius without addressing old imprints. You tell yourself you can succeed, but deep down, another voice whispers, "You're not ready." That's not you, it's legacy code. This is where mental programming goes deeper. You're not just learning new thoughts, you're interrupting decades of automatic ones. Thoughts you didn't choose but inherited. From school, from trauma, from people who never tapped into their own frequency of genius. These aren't just psychological leftovers. They actively reroute your creative energy every single day. So here's the paradox. Your subconscious power can either be your prison or your portal. When aligned, it amplifies intuition, clarity, insight. When misaligned, it filters out the very ideas that could change your life. It tells the conscious mind what's real. And most of us are stuck inside a reality our subconscious created before we even knew how to think. The good news? Filters can be recoded. The subconscious isn't fixed, it's just repetitive. It responds to brainwave training, symbolic input, and elevated emotion. That's why creative visualization in the alpha state is more than imagination, it's reprogramming. But it has to be precise, deliberate, like tuning an old radio to the right frequency. And that leads us to the next layer. If the subconscious is the firewall, then how do we rewrite the code itself? How do we bypass years of inner noise and program a new signal, clean and clear? That's where the real work begins, with techniques designed to awaken hidden intelligence. Structured, powerful, and deeply intentional. Once you realize your subconscious is filtering genius, the next question is, how do I rewire it? This is where mental reprogramming begins, not with effort, but with precision. You're not pushing harder, you're tuning better. Like a sculptor revealing form from stone, you chip away misbeliefs and install clarity. And for that, you need tools, not willpower. Visualization is the first key, but not vague daydreaming. We're talking vivid, multisensory mental simulations, imagined in the alpha state, where your brain is most receptive. Olympic athletes use this, CEOs, special forces, because the brain doesn't distinguish real from vividly imagined. What you rehearse in alpha, you install in reality. Next comes affirmation, but not the shallow kind. True affirmation is emotional repetition, a phrase paired with a feeling. You don't just say, "I'm focused." You feel what it's like to be that version of yourself. The subconscious doesn't understand words. It understands vibration, tone, and frequency. You don't convince it. You resonate with it. Frequency training is another overlooked tool. Binaural beats, isochronic tones, and sound therapy can shift your brainwaves into alpha or theta. Think of it as brain gym for mental states. You don't have to wait for clarity to show up. You train your brain to generate it. It's not magic. It's neuroscience meeting intentional resonance. There's also the power of intention setting, not just goals, but energetic decisions. When you set a true intention, you collapse possibilities into probability. You choose the timeline your subconscious should filter for. Done consistently, it activates reticular awareness. Your brain literally starts noticing what aligns and deleting what doesn't. Put all these together, and you're not just thinking better, you're operating from a new identity. That's what reprogramming really is, creating a self that thinks, acts, and feels on a higher frequency. You stop reacting. You start broadcasting. And the world begins responding to the signal you now emit, clear, coherent, and deeply intelligent. If you only knew the magnificence of 3, 6, and 9, you would have the key to the universe. That quote, often attributed to Nikola Tesla, has sparked endless speculation. Was he just being poetic? Or did he tap into a symbolic structure embedded in reality itself? Tesla believed the universe ran on patterns, vibrations, and frequencies. And in that vision, numbers weren't just math, they were codes of consciousness. Numerology aside, the fascination with 3, 6, and 9 runs deeper than superstition. These numbers show up in geometry, harmonics, and fractal patterns across nature. Triads, spirals, and hexagons. Nature seems to build using rhythms that echo these digits. It's not about magic. It's about resonance. Tesla may have sensed that some numbers hold symbolic gravity, like anchors in the field of mind. In cognitive psychology, symbols shape perception. If you believe a number holds power, your brain assigns it meaning weight and starts filtering reality accordingly. This isn't delusion. It's how the subconscious organizes chaos into coherence. The more emotionally charged the symbol, the more it bypasses logic and embeds itself as mental software. And 3, 6, 9? They're like glyphs of focus, alignment, and expansion. There's also a connection to pattern recognition, the true language of intelligence. Great thinkers, from Pythagoras to Da Vinci, saw numbers as blueprints for insight. 3 represents stability. 6, harmony. 9, completion. Tesla might not have meant these numbers literally, but as a mental code, a way to structure thoughts to align with the fabric of reality. A personal operating system for genius. In modern self-development, repetition and structure matter. Repeating affirmations or visualizations in cycles of 3, 6, or 9 isn't just aesthetic. It's rhythmic, grounding, and neurologically sticky. Repetition imprints. Rhythm embeds. Tesla may have intuitively understood that the mind tunes itself through ritualized intention, and numbers are an ancient scaffold for that process. So is 3, 6, 9 a myth? Or a mental frequency only the tuned can decode? Maybe both. In a world of chaotic noise, we need patterns to focus our signal. Symbols to encode our genius. Tesla's obsession wasn't about digits, it was about designing consciousness. And those who resonate with the code often find themselves seeing what others can't. We love the myth of the genius, the chosen one, the prodigy born with divine wiring. But this myth is dangerous. It creates mental paralysis. If genius is something you either have or don't, then why even try? The truth is, most people never access their deeper intelligence not because they lack talent, but because they never tune their mind to higher frequencies. Think of your brain like a radio. If you're stuck on static, you won't hear the music, no matter how powerful your receiver is. Focus, emotion, belief, these are your dials. Neuroplasticity tells us that with consistent effort, we literally rewire ourselves. Intelligence, creativity, confidence, they aren't traits. They're states, and states can be trained. Science has already proven it. Brainwaves change based on thought patterns. Meditation increases alpha. Deep focus triggers gamma. Visualization activates the reticular activating system, filtering what you notice. In other words, the mind is not fixed, it's programmable hardware. Genius isn't an inheritance. It's a result of how you interface with reality. The idea of fixed talent is also a social defense mechanism. Society fears those who evolve beyond the norm. So it praises natural talent, as a safe explanation. They were always like this. But once you realize genius is trainable, you become responsible for your own untapped power. And that's uncomfortable. It means no more excuses, no more hiding. From the Silva Method to peak performance science, one truth emerges. Your mental world shapes your results. Genius lives in people who practice accessing it, who design their mornings, who visualize their futures, who question every limiting belief. They don't wait for inspiration. They tune in like athletes, like mystics, like architects of their inner reality. So the next time you admire someone's brilliance, don't ask what gift they were born with. Ask what frequency they live on. Ask how they built their mind. Genius isn't found, it's engineered. And the blueprint has always been waiting inside you, silent, until you decide to listen. Nikola Tesla once said, "If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." This wasn't just poetic, it was prophetic. Today, modern physics echoes his intuition. At the subatomic level, everything is vibration. What we call matter is just condensed energy, frequency slowed down enough to become visible. Quantum field theory shows that the universe is not made of particles, but fields vibrating in patterns. You're not a solid object. You are a waveform, constantly interacting with the environment. Even your thoughts emit measurable electromagnetic energy. Your brain is a frequency generator, tuning reality, not just observing it. Consciousness may not live in the brain, it may be the field itself. This changes everything. It means that your mental and emotional states are not just inner experiences, they're energetic transmissions. And what you transmit, you tend to attract. High-frequency states like gratitude, inspiration, clarity, they expand cognition, intuition, and even immune response. Low-frequency states like fear, shame, and apathy shrink your entire field of perception. This isn't just metaphysics, it's measurable. Studies in heart-brain coherence, electromagnetic fields, and brainwave entrainment prove that your inner frequency shapes outer experience. Meditation, music, breathing, movement, these are not rituals. They are tools to realign your nervous system with higher vibrational states. The body follows the frequency of the mind. What Tesla and mystics intuited, science is now confirming. Reality is a symphony of vibrating patterns. And you are both an instrument and a conductor. When you change your internal rhythm, you shift what you notice, what you attract, and what you create. The genius frequency is not just a mindset. It's a vibrational signature that rewrites your interface with life. So the question is, what are you resonating with daily? Chaos or clarity? Fear or frequency? You don't have to master quantum physics to live in tune. You only have to choose your state with intention. And once you do, the universe doesn't just respond, it harmonizes. There's a version of you that already exists, not in some far future, but as a vibrational potential. It's the version of you that thinks clearly, acts boldly, creates consistently. The you that wakes up aligned. This version doesn't chase motivation, it generates energy from resonance. Living tuned isn't about hustle. It's about being in energetic coherence with your true frequency. But here's the truth. Most people never meet this version of themselves. Not because they aren't capable, but because they stay tuned to frequencies of fear, distraction, and self-doubt. They live on autopilot, reacting instead of designing. Genius isn't something you find. It's something you tune into. And tuning is a daily decision, a ritual of mental alignment. That's the final shift. Stop trying to become someone and start tuning into who you already are underneath the noise. Each morning becomes a recalibration. Not what do I have to do, but what frequency am I entering the world with? From that place, actions flow naturally. You're not forcing life, you're vibrating into synchronicity with it. And yes, it will feel strange at first. You'll outgrow people, patterns, and places. But that discomfort is the price of coherence. You're stepping into the signal, leaving behind the static. Living tuned means taking radical responsibility for your state, and trusting that when you're aligned, life rearranges itself to match your clarity. Tesla knew it. Silva taught it. Neuroscience is proving it. You are not your past. You are not your habits. You are not your environment. You are a signal waiting to be broadcast. And when you finally live as that tuned version, the one beyond fear, noise, and programming, the world doesn't just change around you. It begins to mirror you. This is the final shift. Not another technique, not another hack, but a return to your real frequency, to the genius you've always carried in your biology, your energy, your consciousness. The question is not, can you become it? The question is, will you tune in? So now the question is, are you going to keep living in mental autopilot, or will you finally take the wheel and tune yourself to the frequency of genius? Your mind was never the problem. The noise around you was. But now you have the tools and the truth. Start experimenting. Visualize with intensity. Train your brainwaves like an athlete. And ask yourself daily, what signal am I tuning into right now? Because genius isn't found. It's activated by those who dare to reprogram their mind. If this episode sparked something in you, tell me. What part hit you the hardest? What shift will you make today? Drop your answer in the comments. I read all of them. And if you're serious about mastering your mind, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Because this is just the beginning.